so this is basically how it works. We've got some topics of discussion with the cosplay panel. Many of them have been all over the place, North America, some of you guys in Europe and places like that. Australia too, yeah, lots of places. So, and we're just going to discuss kind of what the state of the industry is like in certain areas. And if you guys have comments or questions and stuff, you can come up to the microphone in the middle as well too, if you'd like to. So, cosplay, of course, is a portmanteau of costume and play, and I'm sure most of us are familiar with that. And so, let's start with just a fun little question. Do you feel a specific decade's fashion has dictated how cosplay costumes were made back in the day? Is that a simple question?
It's a big question.
Is that a question? Yeah, I know. I'm going to start off just by, and there's microphones there, guys, if you'd like to. There's only the two, so I'm like, yes. Do you feel a specific decade's fashion, like 80s fashion, 90s fashion, or whatever, has dictated how cosplay costumes were made back, like during those eras and stuff? Like specific fashion trends and what would be used to build them?
Yeah, in a way it has, because maybe not like specific costumes where you're trying to replicate the actual design, but very much when like we were starting out back in the early 2000s, like we would do AU outfits or like punk versions. So basically it was just like we went into Hot Topic and bought clothes. So like in a way, I would say yeah, like the fashion trends definitely did affect how we presented those types of costumes. Yeah, so I think there was an influence for sure.
Anybody else have any comments on that? I know it's a weird question to start off with a question. Okay. Do you guys feel that there's been major revolutions in craft and hobby supply materials that have affected the ability to produce technically accurate cosplay? Wigs.
So again, like harkening back to like the early days, like my friends and I were talking about this recently, like you were considered a god if you had access to a wig, because not many people did. Like you had like Party City, you had like places where you could get like Halloween wigs, but like access to things like high quality like human hair or like Arda wigs, like that didn't exist, so you sort of had to search for them a lot. So I think like the availability of wigs among other things, but just wigs come to mind because I'm obsessed with them. That has definitely made it easier for everyone to be able to put together a cosplay with a wig if they're wanting to, because back then it was like a cosplay wig, it was also, you just couldn't find them. They weren't made the same either. So I think that has really, in my perspective, revolutionized what folks are able to do, and also how many folks are able to do it, right? As costs go down, the more people are able to participate. Also, I'm really sorry about losing my voice, so if you can't hear me, please let me know. I'll try to speak up.
That seems to be a common thing, actually, at this convention. A lot of the staff are losing their voices, too. So, did you have a comment?
No, I think you pretty much said the wigs for sure. Like back then, the wigs were horrible. But I think the internet helped a lot with that. Just the internet and being able to buy and look for new things. Because back then you just go to Walmart or like Party City, like you said, and try to find something. But yeah, the internet definitely changed everything, how we do things. Yeah.
Contact lenses in particular as well. Like no one wore contacts back then. It just wasn't a thing. Color contacts, what were those? They didn't exist when I first started. And then of course things like Warbla and like foam armor builds and like 3D printing now. Like there's just so much more that we didn't have back when we first started. And like people will be walking around in these amazing costumes and they're just like, yeah, it's my first cosplay. And I'm just like, what? So yeah, like I love it. It's incredible to see like all of those young, talented cosplayers just walking around in these amazing outfits that they've been able to craft because technology has gotten better for cosplay as well.
That's what I would say, like, back when I started, like, your first cosplay was, if it was a thrift one, that was a good thing to do, but then when Borgla and all the thermoplastics came along, became more readily accessible, became actually affordable for people, just seeing people be able to make huge creations so easily was just like a huge revolution that you can see at some point now. With 3D printing is another thing that's just doing a great job of sort of lowering the barrier a bit for getting people able to do more complex builds, more interesting builds. It's no longer the materials that are available that is the issue for people.
kind of piggybacking on this a little bit, tell us about each of your first cosplays and how you feel you've come a long way over the years and so on. And if you ever look back at them and think, wow, like a lot has changed.
It's my first cosplay. It was real cringeworthy. I went to this thrift store. I bought a very long green pleated skirt and a white shirt. So I wanted to make it go make a mini Misha. And I cut up the skirt. I didn't hem it on the bottom, so it was nice and frayed. I used a Christmas bow for her like red scarf. And then I had the great idea to cut my own hair. So I would have bangs, and the bangs are like, whoop. So I ended up just like flipping the back up, and I had to deal with that for like 3 months till my hair grew out. So yeah, I look back on that and I'm just like, what was I thinking? I don't know.
My first cosplay was Rock Lee, because Naruto, everybody cosplayed Naruto back in the day. Like, you did not cosplay Naruto. You go to a con and it was just Naruto con, every con. So it was Rock Lee, that was my first cosplay. I was 15, I used my own hair, and I don't even have straight hair, I have curly hair. So it was like Latino Rock Lee, like really weird. And yeah, my mom helped me make the jumpsuit, and it was just a combination of like stuff I cut and stuff, and it didn't look very good, but yeah, you feel like Rock Lee, so you're happy and you're out there posing like you're a badass, but you really look like no, I didn't. Makeup wasn't a thing back then, like I feel like no, because they were knowing nothing, like you just based it off what you thought would look good, so yeah.
I actually have a hard time remembering which one was actually my first, because I did a bunch in very quick succession. But I believe it was technically Sasuke, I think. So I went to like a sports store, because I hid cosplaying from everyone in my life, like my family. So I was like, I played sports at the time, so I was like, I'm gonna go get some new Under Armour for hockey. I wasn't getting Under Armour for hockey. I found an Under Armour that looked, it was like sort of black and looked sort of like Sasuke's like Chunin exam, like one-piece black suit. And I got like an Under Armour top and then shorts, and then was like, I'll just put them together. It'll look like it's one thing. And then I had to make the collar go higher. I didn't know how to do this, so I found like this thick like umbrella material and used that as interfacing, and then like got some stretch black and put that over top and like pinned it onto my neck, because I realized that I couldn't actually sew it onto the neck, so I had to pin it on, so I had to take it on and off every time I put the costume on and off, because there's no way to do it the other way. And then I got some like tape, and I wrapped my legs and my arms, and then I got a wig from like a store you could buy wigs at locally, but it was more like a bob, so I was like really having to like pull down those front tendrils to make them like Sasuke. And actually, like, I look back at my first cosplay and I'm like, I don't think it's, maybe I just haven't covered it more. But I look back and I'm just like, not bad. Like, but I also think that I was blessed enough to start in a position where like, I was surrounded by really experienced cosplayers who almost like I met you before I really started doing cosplay. Like I knew people online whose cosplays I could see, who could tell me sort of what to do. So I had a lot of resources right off the bat that I think allowed me to escape without like this beautiful skeleton in my closet that I wish I had, like my friend Beltrine, but I just don't have skeletons like she does, and I regret it.
Just my first one was way back then. It's Subaru from Gravitation, which was 100% Value Village bought. Everything bought from Value Village. It was my actual hair, but I think I dyed it for that as well. But it was really close to my natural color. And again, like no makeup, no nothing. I think I even that weekend I forgot to bring razors. So it was like not even clean shaven for it. It was like, yeah, screw it, whatever.
Mine was Tuxedo Command, and I bought it online. Yay! So, yeah, actually I traded some Sailor Moon musicals for it too, because they were really expensive, but we won't go into that. Another story. All right, have there been major revolutions in craft and hobby supply materials? Oh wait, I think I just said one. Sorry. Have there been major social or political aspects that have shaped specific character popularity over the years, do you feel? I know we're getting really deep on some of these.
I think that, like, socio-politically, there have certainly been changes, which I feel like have all been for the good, because I do know that, like back in the day, a lot of things were done, a lot of things were said that would not be said or done now. Like, I've certainly done and said things that I now regret, and I think that that's sort of a common experience as folks have sort of stood up and say, like, actually, hey, that's really offensive, or actually, hey, that's not okay, stop doing it. So folks have unfortunately need to come forward and tell us these things, and I'm grateful they have. Doesn't escape the fact that, like, those things have happened, such as, like, I think about, like, darkening your skin for cosplay, right? Like, something that, like, I can think about myself 10 years ago. I thought, like, what's the big deal? And thankfully folks stepped into my life and, like, educated me on the topic. Then I did my own education just, it's super offensive and nobody should do it. But that's something that I feel like back in, like, 10 years ago just wasn't a conversation, and very much is now, which is really good. And certainly does shape, I think, like who's included in the cosplay community, whose voices are included in the cosplay community. I think that I'm not sure that's sort of, like, changed which characters are more popular, although I do feel like more folks now are realizing that even if their demographics, so like their skin color, their age, their height, their weight doesn't match the character, that they can still cosplay those characters, because I do think that has been a major shift too. Like, I remember being told, like, I was too big or small to cosplay a character, right? And, like, I feel like we're getting past those things now, not quite, but we're at least having conversations about them, which is positive. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Anybody else have any comments?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's, like, specific character, but also with, like, cosplay, or, like, sexy cosplay. For example, a lot of girls do it because it's really empowering for them. And I feel like there's still a stigma, but at the same time, it's just, like, it's great that they can go out there and, you know, like, feel empowered by doing what they want to do. And, like, if girls had done that when I was first starting to cosplay, like, I would have been torn apart because everyone would be like, oh, you're such a slut. Like, it just wouldn't be a thing back then. And it's really nice to see someone like Jessica Negri be able to make a living doing that and feeling so empowered when she does it. So,
do you think that's also another reason why there's a rise in lewds? Like, I've noticed especially lately, and it's guys and girls too. Like,
yeah, definitely. I would say that like women in particular and men, but like owning your sexuality, I think that's kind of like a new concept in society, because like women were never allowed before. Like if they were sexual or if they were, you know, like dressing in ways that men wouldn't find appropriate, then they were considered sluts. And now it's just like, no, this is just who I am. I love my body and I'm gonna show it off. So, yeah.
I'm sort of going to take the question in a bit of a different direction, but sort of the same topics. The one thing I've noticed is, especially with the rise of social media, is there's a lot more diversity in what cosplay is being done. Like early on, like each year almost had the one popular series that like every other person did. Like it was Naruto one year, Bleach one year, Death Note one year, where everybody was doing that one. But then at some point, there stopped being a series of the year that was being done. There was just a huge variety of what everybody was doing.
I mean, you still kind of see little mini, like, it's not as grand a scale, but I think Boku no Hero Academia is pretty popular this year. You see a bunch of people. I haven't really noticed a lot, but I've been running all over the place myself.
It's been quick.
It has been quite a bit. Okay, awesome. Did you have anything to add?
No, I like what you were saying about the slut shaming and all that. That kind of grew into. I started doing it back when it wasn't okay to do it, but it made me feel good that I was part of, like, you know, something that now is okay. And back then it just wasn't. It was locked down upon. But I think a main message I always like to send out is that sexuality is okay, no matter what. They try to raise you to think that sexuality is not okay. It's a taboo thing, and like you don't talk about it. It's not okay, but you should be able to express yourself sexually. Sorry, is there kids here? I'm sorry. Well, you will.
It's all good.
No, but it's important. I want to tell my kids this too when they grow up. I don't want them to ever grow up feeling repressed or like they can't express themselves sexually in any way. And that's a message I always try to send out to people, especially young people, because that leads to a lot of psychological stuff. And I think it's so messed up that we raise our kids telling them that that's not okay. You should be able to express yourself however you want. Sex is okay. No sex is okay. Whatever you want to do is okay. So, yeah, that's the message I want to send out there always.
Awesome. Now, we talked a little bit about body shaming, or kind of came up and stuff like that, and you still hear it from time to time. So, why do you think people are so quick to body shame cosplayers?
Because there's no accountability when you post online. I mean, like I struggle with body image issue. I have a chronic illness that has caused me to gain 60 pounds in the last 2 years. So like it's something that I really struggle with. I'm getting emotional talking about it, but like I went to Katsupon and dressed as Sora, and someone posted online saying like that fat person doesn't deserve to dress up as Sora. And this character means so much to me, so that really cut me deep. But yeah, I feel like it's just because like you don't know the person that you're insulting, you don't know their history, you don't know why they're, like why they have this weight. Like it could be a chronic illness, it could be just like that they are suffering from depression and they stress eat. Like there's just so many things, and people don't stop to think about it. They just see this picture and they're just like, oh, well, I'm just going to call this person out because it's not what I like, and I won't feel the consequences because it's online, and they don't know who I am, so they can't turn around and like, get mad at me. So I think it's all about the, just like the fact that there is no accountability.
And well, I guess there's also race too. Like sometimes here, people think that a cosplay is supposed to be done a certain way, and it's terrible because these characters are characters that we love. We all have a certain attachment to them for different reasons, and we feel the empowerment from them, and we want to take on their personas and stuff. And I just think that cosplay should just be enjoyed by everybody, honestly.
There just really is no such like. See, take it from a couple directions. There's no such thing as like being an accurate version of a fictional character. If you can't do it, if you cosplay DBZ, they have muscle groups that don't exist in humans. Like you could not do that accurately. You can have 4 triceps. It's not just not going to work. So I mean, the same thing applies. Like I think holding people to really unrealistic standards of beauty, right? And it's also beauty saying that like fat isn't beautiful. Like fat is beautiful. It's just as a society we sort of stigmatize fatness and decided that thinness is beautiful for an arbitrary reason, right? There's no reason we've done that. Historically, that hasn't always been the case. And same with race and skin color and gender expression, anything like that. Like we've just decided that these traits are the ones we want, and that these ones aren't, and for no reason. We uphold these in society to uphold power. So it's an exercise of power, right? When somebody says that you can't do this because you're this way. And I think that it's really, it's radical in a lot of ways to cosplay. Like it's radical, it's standing up for yourself in this really amazing way when you do cosplay against sort of like who you're stereotyped as, right? If you just cosplay the characters you want versus who other people tell you to be, that is rebellion, that is standing up for who you are, and that changes the world. Because I think back to like a story that a friend of mine told me where she was cosplaying. I believe it was a Disney princess, I'm failing on who it was, and she's black, and a little girl at a convention saw her cosplaying this character and was just like, I turned to her mom and was like, Mom, I didn't know that, again, like I want to say it was like Belle, that Belle was black, that Belle could be black, and like, yes, she can't, like, Belle can be anyone, right? And I think that then that creates a door for people to sort of like look at like, well, I don't see like people in power who are like my gender or my race or who have my abilities or who are disabled as I am. I'm not disabled, I'm saying if you were. And then seeing somebody who does sort of reach to that point is representing someone like you in that position, I think is really amazing. So I just encourage people to just do what they want, as you were saying, because I think it's radical changes the world.
I think it's really important to remember that whenever you get any kind of criticism, like harsh criticism or anything like that, it has nothing to do with you. It reflects on their character. And that's something that I always keep in mind whenever anybody says something mean or anything like that. I never take it personally because I know it has nothing to do with me. It's coming from them. So everything that comes out of your mouth represents you. So make sure that everything that comes out of your mouth is good stuff. And that's going to make you feel good and do good and be good and be looked as a good person. If bad shit is coming out of your mouth, then that just speaks on who you are. So I think it's really important to point out that whenever you get those type of comments or things like with you, remember it had nothing to do with you, it had to do with that person. So you're beautiful.
And maybe just because I think that this can sort of help, but like who here on this panel has had, I feel like it's gonna be all of us, who here has had like insults around like, around weight or around race or around gender or around anything, like people saying you shouldn't cosplay a character. Who's had that or like you on this panel?
Even crossplay.
Even cosplay, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it's so common, and so I think because it happens to everyone, like the best cosplayers I know have had those insults or them. So therefore, it isn't about whether you're good or bad if you get these insults or not. It's about people being jealous, and as you said, it says more about their insecurities that they have to attack others rather than looking inside on what's going on for them.
And touching on your comment about how you can't actually have an accurate, like a real accurate cosplay, it's an art form, right? And art there's no accuracy to art. Art is an expression of who you are. And I love seeing more and more characters nowadays, especially where it's not always the main character of the series that's being portrayed as well. Like there's background characters, there's villains, lots of villains. Like I'm a huge Sailor Moon fan myself, and seeing these massive groups and like all the villains, all the heroes, everything like that, people of all different body sizes, colors, or everything. It's amazing to see that. I hope it just progresses from there and gets better and better. So, thank you. Did you want to say anything? Okay, awesome. So let's shift away from this kind of emotional stuff just a bit. So you guys, many of you have traveled to other countries and gone to other conventions and stuff. I know, Stryker, you were just in Paris actually recently, and you got a photo in front of Notre Dame just before. Yeah, so it's pretty lucky. But I'd like to know, how does cosplay and how it's treated differ from country to country in your experience, from what you guys have seen? You can delve in like cosplay contests, how things are there, run there, or conventions in general too. I'm really curious about this.
I was just talking about this. In other countries, at least in the Western side, everybody's more sensitive, is what I noticed. And over there, everybody's a lot more open to everything. People don't get offended as much, and I'm very sarcastic, and obviously I'm very out there with my body and stuff like that, and no one's ever offended, and that's really refreshing, and I love that about that. And here people are a little bit more sensitive, which is understandable because of the history and all that stuff, but I guess for me, and the way that I am, it's very comfortable, just and refreshing, knowing that, you know, there are different ways of looking at things, and you know, I think it's really important just in general to travel, because your mind expands so much when you step outside of what you're used to, and you see other people and other cultures, and you grow a lot. So yeah.
I tend to find that in Scandinavia in particular, that conventions are very like competitive. Like they put so much time and effort into doing competitions, and they have so many like cosplay summit, just like I don't know, just different, yeah, just lots of competitions with like enormous prizes, and like people will dedicate years to make a specific costume for a specific competition, and it's completely different from here. Like, there's lots of amazing costumes with lots of people who dedicate time here, but there's just something about the Scandinavian conventions that just take it to a next level. Like, they even have a school of cosplay over there where you can go and learn how to make all of like these armor builds and stuff. So like they take it really seriously. And also, I lost my train of thought here. Skits. They do a lot more skits than we do here in North America, I find, where we have a lot of walk-ons, which is really cool too. But like pretty much every entry in a cosplay contest has a skit of some sort, and that's really cool to see.
Yeah, I find it as like different country to country. Like as you mentioned, like the humor, right? The humor differences, right? Like, which I often like. Particularly, like my jokes sometimes don't land because like every sort of place has different humor. I often wonder if the British are angry at me because I'm not like. So I like each country like as you mentioned, like it's great to travel just to see like people are different all around the world. Customs culture are different from each place, and that's always really amazing to see how that differs from your experience. But yeah, I find that each country, in terms of its cosplay scene, is different, and yet shares similarities. Like there's no one better scene. Like each scene sort of like has its ups and its downs. But I have certainly noticed that like Europe and Scandinavia, the culture around competitions is way different. And also their proclivity towards dramatic skits too, which is something I like virtually never see here, the dramatic skits. But over there are just a ton of them, which is, it's a cool sort of shift from like what's expected in a cosplay contest, and how the show is put on, which is always really cool.
Amazing. And you know that the skit thing is a big thing with me. Like I mentioned before at the beginning, I am programming coordinator for IFF, and I was for Anime Revolution for 6 years in Vancouver. And I mean, we were kind of competitors at Anime Evolution's cosplay contest, you know. I've known these guys for a while. And skits have just gone down, and it's sad, because I always loved doing the skits. We did, I did one called Yaoi Fantasy 7, where it was Sephiroth. We did a Chrono Trigger skit where my buddy proposed to his now wife at the end of it. They were Chrono and Marley from that. Just so many memories from it. And then just being goofy, like in 2005 when we first started, our group did this dance-off. And it wasn't like, you know, we would later do groups where we had all the same characters from the same series. But I was Sailor Moon, my brother was Yunat from Final Fantasy X-2. We had, oh my gosh, who were the other ones? Vash the Stampede from Trigun, and we had Vincent from Final Fantasy. And we were just like puppets. We were doing this dance, and we won Best in Show that year. It was amazing. But I don't even care about the awards, just getting up on stage and performing. And from a perspective of someone that's running convention, cosplay contests and so on, or being an audience member. I'd go to Odafest back in the day in Calgary, and they'd have 3-hour-long cosplay contests, just because there were so many skits and walk-ons and stuff. Now you go to a cosplay contest, there's maybe 1 or 2 skits, maybe 3 here in North America anyway, and all the rest are walk-ons. So it gets kind of mundane in some ways, I would say. That's how I feel. But I love like having the people get up on stage, kind of break the mundanity a little bit, perform a little bit. I know it's scary to do it, but at the same time, like that performance element adds so much to the show overall. And you know, we schedule cosplay contests to be like 2 hours. Like it's hard. You never know year to year what it's going to be like. So, but the drama, that sounds really interesting, because most of the ones I ever see here are comedy acts, right? Or monologues and that sort of thing. So you don't see very much drama here. So that's really interesting. You need to go to Europe and take a look. What about Australia? Is that kind of like, do they have any specific?
We did go a while ago. I found it pretty similar to the States anyway. I found it similar to the States.
We went for a film festival, so it wasn't quite an anime convention for us. It wasn't finished. We went for the film festival, and then they had a signing at Supernova Gold Coast, which is their big anime convention. So we didn't really get to walk around the anime con, but we had lots of people come up and like talk to us at our table. And we learned a lot about Australian drama.
Oh.
Yeah. Just like one person would come up and tell us a story about another person, and then 5 minutes later that person would come up and tell us a story about a different person. And we were just like, okay, this is a lot of information at once. So yeah, unfortunately we didn't really get to see the con itself, but apparently there's a lot of drama in Australia.
There's drama everywhere.
There is.
But yeah, I did find it, at least Vancouver, I found it really similar to Vancouver in terms of the cosplay scene there.
Yeah, there's a lot of drama in, I think, cosplay scenes everywhere, and you know, people are labeling the cosplay community as toxic, and so why would some people feel that the whole cosplay scene is toxic in general? Do you think, aside from just like the drama, or maybe that isn't even part of it?
Yeah, I would say the drama is a really big part of it. Also, like just people are competitive. If someone saw like another Sora cosplayer, they might then be like, "Oh, my Sora is better," or like instead of going up to them and being like, "Hey, did you play Kingdom Hearts 3? What did you think about it?" Like I feel like that's really changed in anime conventions because I don't know, like back when we first started cosplaying, we would go up to people and talk to them about, like we were cosplaying for the same thing. This is so cool. And now I feel like it's kind of like you glare at each other from across the room. And then of course, like there's a whole bunch of like drama online, like certain cosplayers saying something and then suddenly it's like cancel culture, like, and then just like calling people out, which is good. If they did something wrong, then definitely call them out. But I feel like, I don't know, there's just like a lot of competition and I don't know, it's just really different from 2007.
So then in the competition aspect, it's very different from the Scandinavian, like you say it's highly competitive, but are they more friendly over there?
No.
No? Oh, really? Is it brutal? Like, is it cutthroat?
Yeah, I think that the drama exists everywhere.
Yeah, it does.
Just in different ways.
Okay. And have any of you gone to like South America in cons or anything like that? Oh, do you want to comment on it?
I went to South America.
Oh, okay.
I'm from South America.
How are the conventions down there? Similar, different, or?
They're so friendly. South Americans are so friendly. I'm not being biased. I love South Americans, and I like Latinos, so that helps. So,
is there drama? Like, does it exist down there?
Yeah, of course, there's drama everywhere. But it's fun to hear all the drama. Like, so I love it. Like, I don't get involved in any of it, but I love hearing about it. I'm like, oh yeah, tell me more. And you always hear about, because I guess the North American cosplayers are like the big cosplayers for them whenever they bring anyone over. So you always hear about like, oh, this person was here and they were rude or they did this. So they always give you like what happened with the other guests. So if like you ever get to go anywhere, like be on your best behavior because they're gonna talk shit about you wherever you go. So yeah, just be good. That's it. That's all you have to do. But yeah, drama everywhere.
Okay. And
I'm the local. I'm staying out of this talk.
okay, that's probably safe.
I think like I've felt the toxicity before. Like the toxicity can certainly happen, and I think it happens when like people prioritize cosplay over friendships and people. Because I think it can start to happen, right? Where like you find yourself like getting angry at your friends or yelling at them or making them make certain cosplays even though they don't want to, or excommunicating someone from your friendship group because they're wanting to cosplay the same character as the person who's like the most popular in the group. I'd say that if you ever recognize that in your group, there's like one person who has all the power, especially if that's associated with internet fame, that person can get away with anything. That is a toxic situation. Because I've just seen so many friendships just end because one person has sort of like and cosplay can go to your head. Cosplay went to my head, and I acted like a total jerk for 2 years. But cosplay can go to your head, and then you can start being a jerk to all your friends. But if your friends aren't in a position where they can call you out, then that can make it fun for nobody. Just like it can become a chore. It can become heart-wrenching to even do it. So if it starts to become that, I would say like, examine why you cosplay. If it's not for fun, then maybe take a step back and also examine the people you're cosplaying with. And if you notice that they're talking, do you say talk shit? Can I say talk shit? I'm gonna say if you notice them talking shit about other people, then they might be talking about shit about you too. Because like when that happens in a group, like if they're just shit talking, then shit talking happens for everyone. So just try to err on the side of like good behavior, right? And just be kind to people. because that's going to create foster a less toxic environment to be around, which will make your life a little easier.
Well, shit. Anyway. So has social media become the gateway then to a toxic cosplay community? How has it shaped cosplay in a positive direction? And how has it regressed it in a more negative direction all around? I'm making you think.
I know, you're really hitting us with the hard questions. I would say that social media definitely has contributed quite a lot to toxicity. It opens cosplay community up to other people that don't cosplay. So you get a lot more people that randomly see your picture because like a friend happened to like it and it popped up on their timeline. And then suddenly they're just like, what is this? And they'll leave negative comments, and like that wouldn't happen normally until social media became such a big thing, and it's how cosplayers get out there in the world now. But of course that's putting you out there to everyone in the world. So it's not just a small community anymore, it's including like random people that might not know what cosplay is. So I feel like that's definitely brought in some negativity, especially with like race recently, where people who don't cosplay will see someone dressed up like, I have a friend who cosplays as Wonder Woman, she's black, and then there was like tons of people that were just like, oh, well, Wonder Woman's not black, like why are you doing this? Like this isn't my Wonder Woman. And it's just like, they're just fans of Wonder Woman, but not of cosplay, and so they like attack her for doing something she loves, and that's just not cool, and that's a very bad side of social media. But what are you going to do? Like, there's no way to control it. So
Accountability again.
Yeah. No, I think everything has a bad side. I think social media is great. I think it's very positive, at least for me. And I think whether you have a big outreach of people or not, I think it's important to use your outreach for a positive thing. Something I do every day is I post a positive quote in my stories every single day, because I know someone's going through something every day, and maybe that quote will help them. And I get a message every single day. It's like, oh, I needed this today. So I think we almost have a responsibility to the people that support us and help us and like light our fire every day to send a positive message to them. And even again, if you don't have a big outreach, I think it's always a good idea to just send positive vibes to your family or friends or anything. And yeah, I think social media is great. I love social media. So.
Do you ever feel objectified on your social media, like sexually objectified?
I love being sexually objectified. I love it. I don't think there's anything wrong with being sexually objectified. I think people make that like it's a bad thing. No, that's a good thing. Like, if people want me, great. You keep
empowerment, right?
Yeah, it's empowering. It's all how you look at it. Everything is perspective. You can be like, oh, why are you objectifying? You can be like, oh, you're objectifying me. Like, that's cool. So look at the positive of everything. Like, nothing has to be a negative. Everything can be a positive thing. You just have to look at it that way. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, when people comment, they're just like, oh, like, you're hot, or something like that makes me feel good, for sure. But although like I haven't, I've not in a long time experienced objectification as someone who's not a man. So like I do like I think you've expressed in the past that it does feel different when like that person is like a creepy dude, right? But for me, because like I'm a man and like I have such a power in society, so like I like getting that from dudes and girls and folks of all genders, like that always like that does feel good to me. And unless it becomes creepy and so it's like messaging you constantly, then you're just like, oh dear, please just don't come to the house. But I think getting back to like the social media thing, I think social media is great. I do think it like opens up the door for a lot of folks to like reach out when they wouldn't otherwise be able to reach out. Like it gives people a lifeline sometimes between like, this is me, this is my situation, I can't get out of this, but I can see that other people are living their lives as I would want to, and that's gonna keep me, for some people, that's gonna keep me alive until I can get out of the situation I'm in. Like that's a real thing. And there's also the negative side of it where like it does increase anonymity, so folks do reach out in ways they might not in real life. It does foster like when people get into sort of like follow counts, right? And like I'm better than you because I have 4,000 and you have 2,000, right? Like that's no good, as Sonic would say. It's like a social but yeah, I do love social media, and it helps me find cosplay, and I feel like the good it does. There's so much potential there, so I just feel like if we can harness it by making it, as you said, more positive, then that just creates a safer environment for all of us. Because there are definitely folks out there who like can't just like go out to a con in real life and like depend on people posting pictures at cons having fun in order to know that there is a way forward for them.
At least from my end, like this might be a bit more controversial side of it-ish, is I just find like there is a little bit of frustration with, oh god, I forgot the word now. What was the question again?
Oh, we're talking about social media. If it's like a gateway to the toxic cosplay community, how has it shaped the cosplay in a positive direction, and how has it regressed it in a negative direction? And then we talked about objectification as well. Yeah, sorry, I touched that on after.
For me, I find like there's a slight bit of frustration with objectification, just in terms of, though, like that type of content, at least for what I post, seems to be like 10 times the attention of non-objectified content. So sometimes I find it a little frustrating, like doing like a fully clothed build that you're really proud of, you put in so much work in, and then the stuff that you might not put as much work into, if you happen to not wear a shirt in that one, gets that much more attention to it. It's just like you should be doing cosplay for yourself, doing what you're proud of, but it's still like, really? You know, also like numbers. Fuck numbers. Oh.
It's okay, it's all good.
Where's the jar?
Here's the spare jar.
So,
Should I come up?
yeah, come to the microphone here.
Hey.
Yeah, to add to what you were just saying, the objectification thing is like, sex sells, right?
Yeah.
And girls, just people, cosplayers in general, use that to be able to fund other things now. So you can use the sexy stuff
Yeah.
to fund your bigger builds,
Yeah.
and that way it's also a positive. So
Yeah.
it kind of goes both ways, and like, yeah, it sucks when you're not getting the attention, but sexy stuff's always going to get more attention. That's
Yeah.
just the way it is.
Yeah.
But you can also like use that as a positive and use that to
Oh, yeah, totally.
to fund other things or get your name out there, get like recognition, and then also post this, also post the non-sexy stuff and be like, hey, I also do this, right?
Yeah.
You get it. So it's also a positive.
Oh yeah, like totally. Like
Yeah.
this is like what else, like really minor,
Yeah.
like inconsequential. It's just point out. Like,
Yeah. It's also it's a numbers game. Like
Yeah.
there's going to be.
Like, you don't want to be a numbers game, but sometimes when you just see those numbers and it's been a bad day, it's just like it's affirming. Yeah.
Yeah. It's another thing that goes both ways. So it can be something that makes you feel good, something that makes you feel positive, or it can be something that's like detrimental because you're comparing yourself all the time, and comparison's really what kills it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And then you look at like YouTubers are having the same issue, numbers up and down, and that's their livelihood as well. And now some of you I know do skits. You guys do skits. I love watching your skits. I those are hilarious. And a lot of them you just do to have a good time and be goofy, right? And that to me is very important. That's why I love doing it too. You just do it to have fun with it. Have you guys done skits before?
Strip.
Strip? Okay. That's a skit, that works.
I think the only thing on my YouTube thing is maybe some Tetris 99.
Okay, so more gaming and stuff like that. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. To me, like, I miss the days when you get more people on stage just having fun, being themselves, being silly, dancing around, whatever, just performing for people. You can either work on it for just like a costume, you can work on your skit for months and stuff, or you can be like my team was and you practice it like 2 weeks before the convention. So, but the other thing too, and this, again, is deviating a little bit from the more serious stuff, but in terms of doing cosplay contests themselves. Back in the day, we'd always have the microphones given to us and we'd act it out live on stage. Well, now a lot of cosplay contests, including the ones here, because I kind of enforce it through experience, pre-record your skits and act them out as you're on stage. That way you don't have like need for 7 microphones, you don't have all this weird like screaming and different voluming. Oh, there's horror stories about that. And I kind of want to touch on horror stories, maybe one each that you may have of something related to cosplay, maybe something that went wrong, could be skit, could be costume oriented, just because it's fun to share stories from people that do this like as a professional kind of thing. And because we're all going to have some kind of a horror story with it. So I'll let you guys think about that just for a minute, and I'll tell one about my brother. So my brother went as Tifa one year, and we called him Kifa. And we actually, that was the year that we did Yaoi Fantasy 7 and Fighting Dreamers ran the worst cosplay contest at Anime Evolution. Or was it called? I think it was Anime Evolution. Yeah, and it was the first year that you guys were doing it. And we had no idea what it was about either. So we won,
didn't either, don't worry.
Yeah, so it was great. So we won Best in Show in the cosplay contest, and then we took, so we pre-recorded everything, and we're like, okay, so it's his worst cosplay contest, so let's make it as horrible as possible. So we started playing out all these tropes and stuff. Like I was Sephiroth, and I was overly gay. My brother was Tifa, but because he was cross-playing, he really amped up his manliness with it. And at one point, we didn't do this, but he was going to grab like some socks and put them in like nylons and have it like a hanging down balls. He drew a little thing on his neck and like had a smoke in his hand. It was like, ugh! Like it was insane. But that kind of deviates from the story. He had water balloon breasts. And so we were sitting at the closing ceremonies, and he was literally just sitting on the ground, and where he chose to sit, because there wasn't a lot of like seating options, it was just on the floor or whatever, he was on top of the cable that went to the main tech area, and all of a sudden, one of his water balloons just popped. And he didn't even notice it at first until it trickled down. And it's not like a huge horror story, but it's like, it could have been so much worse. It could have been like zapped, could have shut down the whole power in the convention and stuff. So later on, he only, like the convention ends, and he's only got the one left, right? So we were parked on a parkade on the 4th floor. He's like, I don't need this anymore. So he throws it down there. What does it do? Just bounce. It doesn't even pop. So he's sitting there and just boom. And then the other one just throws it down there with all his, I don't know. It's funny. It's a little funny. But let's hear some of your guys', if you have any.
Mine tend to result in injury.
Oh no.
So when I first made Sora, I didn't know how to make shoes or boot covers or anything. So I just covered some hiking boots that I had with lots and lots of tape. And we had the bright idea to go to Disneyland in costume. So we were walking down Main Street, and within like 5 minutes, I was just like, ow, my ankle really hurts. So we dashed into the ice cream parlor, and I looked, and my entire ankle had been ripped apart by this tape.
Oh my God.
So it was just like gushing blood. And I was like, I don't think I can wear these shoes, but I don't bring anything else. And we're in Disneyland, so what do I do? So Courtney and our friend Becky went to find someone to get me a Band-Aid, and they stayed with me, kept me company, and they refused to give Courtney a Band-Aid because they needed me to sign this liability waiver because they thought I was going to sue the park. So Courtney was just like, what do you want me to do? She's like, all the way over there, do you want me to piggyback her here because she can't walk?
That sounds like her.
And so they were just like, okay, calm down. You can sign the waiver, and you have to promise that she won't sue the park. And Courtney's just like, fine. And then she comes back, and she was just like, here's your Band-Aid. Do you know what I went through to get this one?
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah, so that's one of my horror stories that is, mainly me breaking toes or injuring my feet somehow.
Did you end up having to take the shoes off for like a large time?
No, I just like wrapped my foot with Band-Aids, and the other shoe was fine. It was just like the tape had lifted off, so it was like it was curled and the sticky side kept rubbing against my skin. So I think that's what kind of peeled it off. But, yeah.
I have a gross one, and then I have a not gross one. What do folks want to hear?
Gross one.
Gross.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right. Some people know the story. Asha. Our friend Courtney's the same one who got the Band-Aid. And then, so Courtney is, Courtney has a uterus, and Courtney had her period in these white pants, but didn't notice throughout the day because she was wearing armor to show her. So she takes them off at the end of the day, and her pants are just covered in menstrual blood. And she's like, oh my God, what do I do? And then I said, it's okay. Day's over, you can just like put the pants away. So I was just like, no, you don't understand. I have to wear these tomorrow, and it's all crotch exposure because I have to be show run. I was like, oh dear. And I'm like, wait, we have white paint. So I was like, we'll just paint over the blood. And so we laid the pants on the floor and start painting away. Just right away, right off the bat. Jen goes to the bathroom, locks the door. That's very important. To the story. So Courtney and I are painting, we finish painting, we put it behind the bed to dry, and then we start dancing, jumping on the bed to Miley Cyrus's Best of Both Worlds because it was like 2004. So we're jumping on the bed and we're just dancing, and then I decided to do my like super suave, like I'm walking downstairs, but I'm not, it's an illusion, like you know, I'm looking behind the bed, but it's like I'm going down the stairs, but then I fell. And I fell into something wet. I was like, who put this here? And then I was like, oh my God, it's like white paint. And I start rubbing on my face. Oh. And then I go pray like, I love you, Courtney, on my leg. And then she's just staring at me with her mouth agape. And I'm like, what are you doing? This is super funny. You should be laughing. And then I noticed that I look at my hand and the paint isn't white as I thought it was. It was actually more of a rose color. So I just rubbed my friend's menstrual blood all over my face and body. So I'm terrified, run to the bathroom and try to open the door, but Jen had locked the bathroom door, so I just had to sit there, again, listening to Miley Cyrus, but it was a sadder song this time, as the blood just like... So we now call each other blood brothers, because you will never be closer to a friend than I am to my best friend Courtney. So that's my most embarrassing cosplay horror story.
And what's the other one?
The other one is I almost broke my butt as Jack Frost.
Oh, okay. Nice and short. Oh, wow. No, that's amazing. Wow, thank you for sharing that. I'm sure Courtney's going to...
I'm sure she's happy I shared that with her.
It's going to be on YouTube, too. All right, how about yourself?
How do you perceive that, Ken? Mine was a long time ago, and like we were saying earlier, like there was no makeup and stuff back then, so you didn't really have tutorials or anything. So I was going to be Okiura. You guys know Okiura? He's all white. So I didn't know how to paint myself white. So I spray painted myself.
Oh, no.
My whole body, including my face, spray painted. Like white spray paint. And then it kept coming off. So I took the spray paint with me to the convention. And I was about to go on stage, so I'm like, oh, start retouching. Just told my friend, so we're spray painting indoors inside the convention. And it got a little bit on the wall. So they called the staff, and then the police came and they tried to arrest me. So yeah, and spray paint burns. Do not spray paint your skin. Yeah, that was one. And another one, someone proposed to me with a ring pop in the middle of a convention. That was really awkward. It took a while to get off, but and it was cheap spray paint. Like, you know the dollar one?
Yeah.
Like the really crappy one? Yeah.
Did you feel sick at all afterwards? Or?
I had a headache the whole day. And you were just smelling the spray paint all day on my face, everywhere. My eyelashes were all spray painted. My eyes were like glued shut sometimes. It was horrible. But I committed.
I think I have two good ones. I had one, but then you reminded me of another one.
You reminded me of that.
First one is just because the 404s are cross stuff, like I usually can't do costume contests because like time conflicts. Last year the talkathon was like, I'm just going to say I'm going to do the costume contest. I had one that I felt really confident in. Behind the stage, it was one where some of the pieces I had attached with spirit gum, and it's a bit later in the day, so the stuff was coming off, so I just took the lid of the spirit gum off to help reapply stuff, and had the sort of brush in the one hand, the bottle in the other, and just painting something on. This was open right over my shoulder, so I didn't notice for a few minutes that my entire shoulder had become covered with spirit gum. right before a costume competition.
That doesn't come off.
No, it doesn't. The other one was actually not the costume itself, but the construction of it was early when I was trying to start actually really making stuff. And a friend was helping me out and showing me the wonders of hot glue to make shoes from Neku from World Ends With You. And at his place, he was sort of showing me the ropes, how to do it, using the hot glue. And then I just started gluing the stuff on. It was taking a while. And hot glue can be toxic with the fumes, which I found out in a few minutes because after about half an hour of hot gluing Neku's shoes, I had to go to my friend's washroom and I was throwing up and dry heaving for about an hour because of toxic hot glue fume poisoning. And I think I passed out for about an hour after that too. And had an improv show at a bar that night too. So make sure you're always hot gluing with breathing apparatus and ventilation.
All right, well, I have one more. It's not like convention related, but I was on a TV show called Zoinked. I don't know if you guys remember that on YTV. This is my second time in Toronto. I came here in 2012. So for those of you that may not know, it's one of those fun kids shows where you get slimed. So you're brought in front of a panel of kid judges, and basically they're fed what to say. Because some of the things they say, you're just like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you were fed that. But the kids aren't allowed to see you until you actually go on there. So you go out onto this stage. They'll call you like 3 times. And on the 3rd time, that's when you come up, because they have to get different shots and stuff and see what works, what doesn't. So you go stand on the stage, you've got an audience on either side, you've got kids that are way up above you, and then you've got this thing behind you that releases slime, or it like throws confetti at you, or it throws like those soft balls that you have at an arcade, you throw in the Tin Can Alley or whatever. So I was dressed in my Sephiroth cosplay. Although I couldn't have the full thing because you're not even allowed to sing happy birthday as your talent, like that, because that's a copyrighted song, believe it or not. I did not know that at the time. So I'm in the Sephiroth jacket, I've got my boots on, I've got my Shuichi wig that I wore when I was Shuichi from Gravitation. And I go on stage and I'm trying to perform my original song. They wouldn't let me use my music either. They're like, no, you can sing the lyrics, but we're gonna put something else in there. It's really, really strict for this kind of thing, for a kid's show. And so I'm standing there in this costume and I'm doing my thing and I'm thinking, okay, I'm definitely going to get slimed because I'm not even allowed to use my music and stuff. And the kids are sitting there and they have to wait 30 seconds. And then they start pulling the levers and I'm thinking, oh great. And then you get hit with the slime and it hits you hard. I almost like fell over. So my costume's covered in slime. Luckily it didn't get in the wig, but it got in my boots. And I didn't bring an extra pair of boots with me for that day. So walking around in nasty slimy boots. And my poor costume, I took it back to the hotel room. It was kind of like a pleathery type thing. Washed it in the only thing I had, which was the shower. So it was kind of that. And it is currently to this day sitting in a garbage bag in my closet because I don't throw anything out. So I don't even want to look at it. I should just toss it away. But anyway, so it ruined that costume, unfortunately. But it was still fun. And I'm on TV somewhere if YTV even shows those. Anyway, so. But we are out of time now, you guys. So thank you so much for coming. And please thank our panelists. We've got Stryker, we've got Nova, we've got Twinfools, SigmaJump Cosplay. Thank you guys as well. And I hope you had a good time. Thank you. Thank you very much. So again, as well, like I said, I'm the programming coordinator for International Fan Fest. We love feedback. If you guys want to give feedback personally to me, you can send it to Jeremy, Jeremy, at ifanfest.com. There's no T at the end. Or you can use Facebook and stuff too. Let us know legitimately what you thought about the convention. Positive, constructive criticism is always welcome. You know, we want to learn stuff. I've been doing this for a few years with Anime Revolution, so we have elements of that. And there's ideas already that I'm coming across for next year too, but I'd love to hear your ideas. And what do you guys think of like 18 plus content and stuff?
Strip show.
Okay, well there's some ideas enough for that too, so keep that in mind. But yeah, please always let us know what you guys think. It's very important. We'd love to hear from you guys because without you, there'd be no convention, right? So I'll be at the closing ceremonies as well too, so hopefully we'll see you there, and please enjoy the rest of the programming throughout the convention. Would you guys like to say any closing words or anything?
Thank you so much for having us, and yeah, thanks for listening to this panel. You're all amazing.
Saying thank you for coming, and it's an honor being here in Toronto. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yep. I didn't plan this.